In Japan, there was once a motorcycle culture so loud, so aggressive, and so visually extreme that even other bikers thought it was insane. Engines screaming through quiet neighborhoods, exhaust pipes pointed toward the sky, seats stretched so high they looked almost unusable, bright paint, war flags, neon lights cutting through the night. They were called Bosozoku. The word roughly translates to violent running tribe, and for decades they ruled the streets after dark. To understand Bosozoku, you have to go back to post-war Japan. By the 1970s, Japan was rebuilding fast, the economy was booming, society was becoming structured, disciplined, efficient, schools were strict, work culture was rigid, conformity was expected. And for many young men, especially teenage boys, it felt suffocating. Motorcycles became their escape. Not superbikes, not race machines, but mid-sized Japanese bikes from manufacturers like Honda, Kawasaki, Suzuki, and Yamaha. Affordable, accessible, easy to modify. At first, it wasn't about crime, it wasn't even about gangs, it was about identity. Groups of young riders began forming crews. They wore matching uniforms, long coats with embroidered slogans, rising sun designs, and bold kanji characters. They rode together at night, revving engines at intersections, weaving through traffic, making as much noise as possible. It wasn't about getting somewhere, it was about being seen. The bikes themselves became more extreme over time. Tall sissy bars rose high above the rear fender, front fairings grew oversized and sharply angled, exhaust pipes extended outward and upward, sometimes absurdly long. Seats were exaggerated, sometimes shaped into dramatic curves. These machines were not built for speed, they were built for attention. If performance was the goal, the modifications made no sense. The aerodynamics were worse, the balance was questionable, comfort was sacrificed. But performance was never the point. Presence was. When 20 Bosozoku riders rolled through a city at night, it didn't feel like traffic. It felt like a moving spectacle. Engines blaring in unison, riders swerving deliberately, a synchronized display of rebellion. In a society built on order and harmony, Bosozoku chose disruption, and that disruption made them famous. By the 1980s, Bosozoku groups had grown across Japan. Some developed strict hierarchies and codes of conduct. Senior members mentored juniors. Loyalty mattered. Uniforms mattered. Rituals mattered. It became more than riding. It became belonging. But as visibility increased, so did tension with authorities. The loud rides, the traffic violations, the confrontations. Public perception began to shift. What once looked like youthful rebellion started being labeled as delinquency. Police crackdowns intensified in the late 80s and 90s. New laws targeted reckless riding, surveillance increased, arrests became common, penalties became harsher. Membership began to decline. By the 2000s, the large, highly organized Bosozoku gangs were fading. Numbers dropped dramatically compared to their peak decades earlier. But something interesting happened. The spirit didn't disappear, it evolved. Today, what remains of Bosozoku culture is far less about organized gangs and far more about aesthetic. The extreme bike style survived. Modern riders recreate the tall seats, the dramatic fairings, the sky-pointing exhaust pipes, not necessarily to challenge authority, but to preserve a visual legacy. What once was rebellion became art. Photographers document them, social media shares them globally, international builders replicate the style in Europe and America. The silhouette of a Bosozoku bike is instantly recognizable. It's theatrical, almost cartoonish, sometimes compared to anime designs or futuristic war machines. But behind the wild visuals is something deeply human: the need to stand out. Japan is often described as a society that values harmony over individual expression. Standing out can feel uncomfortable. Blending in is often safer. Bosozoku did the opposite. They made themselves impossible to ignore. Every rev at a red light was a statement. Every exaggerated modification was a declaration. Every group ride was a reminder that identity matters, even if it's loud, even if it's messy, even if it disturbs the silence. And that's why Bosozoku fascinates people around the world. It's not just about motorcycles, it's about youth pushing back against structure. It's about turning machines into symbols. It's about taking something mechanical and making it emotional. You can see similar patterns in other subcultures: punk music, custom cars, street fashion. When society tightens, expression finds new shapes. In Japan, for a generation of riders, that shape was a modified motorcycle roaring through the night. Today, the massive organized rides are rare. Strict enforcement and cultural shifts change the landscape. Many former members grew up, moved on, or transitioned into legal custom scenes. But if you look closely at certain bike meets, certain underground gatherings, certain builds shared online, you can still see the influence. The tall rear seats, the bold graphics, the dramatic silhouettes. Echoes of a time when chaos briefly owned the asphalt. And maybe that's the most powerful part of the story. Bosozoku didn't need to last forever to matter. It only needed to leave a mark. Because culture doesn't disappear, it transforms. In a country known for precision and restraint, there was once a tribe that chose volume over silence and spectacle over subtlety. They rode not to escape the world, but to confront it. Engines screaming into the night, refusing to blend in. And for a moment in history, they made sure everyone was watching.